to broadcast WRMN. I usually have to say WRMN 1410 because I mumble a little bit. Yeah, a broadcaster mumbles, right? Diction is okay, but that M and the N together, the smart speakers don't always follow. So get WRMN 1410 right there on your smart speaker. And you can also follow us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@WRMN radio. So what are we going to do? Well, it's Free Speech Friday. You can jump in 847-931-1410, 847-931-1410. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a couple of news articles that I've been reading throughout the week that I really just didn't have time to put into the show. And they say, oh, well, Sonar, you have a 2-hour show every single day, Monday through Friday. That's 10 hours. You're telling me that within these 10 hours, you couldn't find a spot for this? Well, I want to make sure that I am factual first off, and I want to make sure that I am delivering the news that's the most important for that day. Not necessarily what's trending that today, not necessarily what is the most popular thing that's out there. I want to make sure that whatever information that is floating around news adjacent that you need, and I get a lot of praise of going, hey, it is very informative, it is very educational of what we do over here for this show, but I also get a lot of pushback for those same reasons. So we're going to keep delivering the high factuality, and we are going to keep delivering the side of news that you don't normally get. You don't normally get a what does this word actually mean. Later on in the show, we're going to talk about the word fascism and how it moves through. It's not necessarily the word Wednesday that we've done, and we've broken down fascism, and we've broken down democracy, and we've broken down republic and voting and bias and all of those other words that we've put together for Word Wednesday. But we do that because so many people use words that they may not necessarily know the full-on definition of it. Like I believe it was Asa Hutchinson that used what was it? Sensationalist or scandalous or things like that. And it's like, well, it's not necessarily that side of everything. Salacious, that's what he used. He used salacious. Well, salacious usually means like a sexy type of thing, not necessarily just like an outlandish, I think is the word that he was looking for. But that's beside the point. So what are we going to talk about? Well, I had this prepared for Legislation Thursday when we walked down Legislation Thursday, but it had not fully baked in the news cycle. A lot of times there's accusations. A lot of times there's just the gut reaction that so many people have. This is something that happened this week, and it has been ongoing. I don't know if you've heard about the $1 million a day lottery targeting swing state voters that Elon Musk has going on right now. But just this week, the DOJ turned around and said, hey, man, what you're doing could be a violation of the law. Now, why didn't they just break down his doors and arrest him? Well, a lot of it, too, deals with this 60-day memo of safeguarding the electoral integrity. And so there's a DOJ, I don't know, it's a standard. It's kind of like a house rule. It's not really a thing that's a legislated rule. Like a lot of the DOJ and a lot of government organizations, their rules are set actually by the legislative side, or they are set by the executive branch who runs that side, DOJ in particular, where they put it together. But the Congress is the one that regulates what the powers of the different sides have. So you talk about the EPA and everything else, that comes with the Chevron deference type of things that have been jumping into the Supreme Court. So if you don't know what half of those words mean, please listen to our show. We break down all of those different things, including the three branches of government and their purpose, their constitutional obligations that are out there. But the 60-day memo of not investigating or announcing an investigation within that time period is a little bit of a sticky wicket when it comes to people interfering with the election as the election is going on. If somebody breaks a law with the about the election that's happening, they're not going to turn around and say, hey, we shouldn't prosecute this person because of our 60 days. Oh, my goodness, I know he's breaking the law. I know everything's happening, but because of the 60 days, we can't touch it. Now, Merrick Garland is absolutely one of the, I would say, one of the people that have had the most kid gloves for people with the DOJ. And now I understand why he did it. Do I like it? No, I don't. I think the guy's a coward. I think he, instead of taking any of the political backlash, he decided to slow walk everything, and that's why we're in the situation that we're in right now. Why it took 4 years. Like, we're not even going to get sentencing for anything. If, let's say I'm running for president, I'm running for anything, and somebody accuses me of something, I would want, as quickly as possible, under, I believe, the Sixth Amendment, that right to a speedy trial, I would want that and prove my innocence as quickly as possible. You say that I stole this thing. Well, let's go to trial. Let's go right now. Bring it up. Is there a judge around the corner? Let's go ahead and get this thing done. But because the strategy is delay, because justice delayed is justice not, this is my problem with the DOJ, is this slow walking Merrick Garland especially, which I hope whoever is the next president picks a different person for the head of the DOJ. But this is what we're going to get into, is a little bit of the Department of Justice investigating Elon Musk's lottery. Elon Musk's America PAC faces legal scrutiny from the Department of Justice due to the $1 million a day lottery targeting swing state voters. Alongside concerns about violating election laws, the DOJ must also contend with the constraints imposed by its 60-day memo policy, a long-standing internal guideline intended to prevent investigations from influencing those elections. The DOJ's 60-day memo, let's just go into it. This is supposed to safeguard the electoral integrity, right? All except for when you find emails in a server. If you find emails in a server, then by all means, let's announce whatever we've got going on. The 60-day memo is an informal DOJ policy that limits public investigation actions or announcements close to federal elections, typically within 60 days of the election. The goal is to avoid the appearance of political bias by ensuring the DOJ does not take actions that could be perceived as influencing the election's outcome. With Musk's lottery contest now under scrutiny, the DOJ finds itself in a legal and procedural dilemma. On one hand, the investigation into America PAC must move forward to ensure election laws are not violated. But on the other hand, the DOJ acts too aggressively or makes public accusations, it risks being accused of improperly interfering with the election process, right? You turn around and say, this PAC right here is in violation of the election act of what have you. And then we turn around and say, well, you are interfering with the election. The impact of the 60-day rule, the delay in action, the DOJ must limit the scope of public action or delay potential enforcement measures until after the 2024 election, even though the alleged violations are occurring in real time. They occur in real time. The crimes are blatantly in front of us, and the DOJ still, Merrick Garland's DOJ still does not have the intestinal fortitude to actually pull any kind of, hey, stop. Now, they did send a letter. They did say, hey, man, what you're doing may violate some of these laws. And don't worry, I'll get to the laws that this may violate. It's not just the trust me, bro type of resources or sources that are out there. Well, cite your source. Well, trust me, man. No, this is what it is. The pressure to proceed. That's me. I'm the pressure to proceed. I'm the, hey, man, why are you delaying that thing that's happening in front of us? Why are you delaying anything like that? Why are you delaying a riot that happened? Why are you delaying things being stolen from the American people? Why do you delay that justice? Because of this, the political backlash. Now, Merrick Garland is already in that political backlash type of side anyway, because he wanted to be a Supreme Court justice. And Mitch McConnell said, no, we're not going to do it. Now, Mitch McConnell has said some other things, and I don't necessarily need to just do an entire segment on what Mitch McConnell said about his candidate. But this is the issue that we're running into, is all of these career politicians that continue to make decisions to keep them career politicians. Now, in our course of interviewing multiple candidates in this upcoming election, we had an underlining feel for a lot of people with Rice, with Sosnowski, with Mosser, with a whole bunch of other people, even if they were incumbents, that the established party is what everybody needs to stay away from. And statistically, the change candidate wins if times are bad. Well, are they going okay for you? And here's the issue. Which one of the two candidates do we have is the change candidate? Former President Trump is that same thing, former president. So how is he a change candidate? He was already president. That's no change. You were president 4 years ago. Now, I know the American people have, most of us have the memory of a goldfish, and we don't necessarily remember, 2020 pandemics and things like that. But at the end of the day, Kamala Harris also is trying to position herself as the change candidate. But she's in charge now. And by in charge, I mean she's part of the policies. The vice president doesn't do anything other than sit next to the president and preside over the Senate. Now, she historically has had to make a few of these deciding votes. You don't necessarily have to always do that as the president of the Senate, but the Inflation Reduction Act, yeah, that's going on because of her vote. Now it was brought to Congress to be litigated and to be legislated, but at the end of the day, when the Senate voted to pass it or not, it was a tie. And that is one of the responsibilities of the president of the Senate or the vice president of the United States to make that decision. So the bridges, the roads, the construction of orphanages and all the other things that we got out of the Inflation Reduction Act or the CHIPS Act, but mostly the Inflation Reduction Act, she is the one that voted for that. But you can't vote for that and be a pivotal member of what happened and still be the change candidate. So let's continue with this side before I run off too much onto a tangent. And let's keep this more about the DOJ and Musk. So here are some of the relevant laws that are going on. Let's talk a little bit about what Elon has been working on. So Elon Musk's American PAC, these are the legal concerns. The federal election law strictly regulates financial incentives like linked to voting, right? They are absolutely in there in that process of not being able to, pay for your vote. Now, by all means, George Washington paid for vote in liquor and beer because he had lost his previous election. Then they started going, hey, maybe we shouldn't pay people for doing things. So this is the first one. The Federal Election Campaign Act, 52 U.S.C. 30101. The DOJ may argue that the daily $1 million prize is an unregulated campaign expenditure that constitutes improper influence over the election. So the PAC itself has to worry about it. The timing of the giveaway during the election cycle raises red flags under the FECA, which seeks to prevent financial incentives from skewing voter participation. We've also got bribery in elections. That's 18 U.S.C. Section 59. Bribery laws prohibit offering any form of financial reward to influence voter behavior, whether it's encourage voting, abstention, or support for specific candidates. You aren't allowed to give somebody money to register and encourage them to vote. Can't do it. Ben and Jerry's got in trouble. And it's not just money. It's any kind of incentivization. Ben and Jerry's got in trouble for saying that you can get a free pint and all of the Ben and Jerry's locations or a free scoop or whatever they had done, that you could get free ice cream if you show up with an I voted sticker. Well, bribery in elections, 18 U.S.C. Section 597, changed their mind, and Ben and Jerry's said, okay, anybody with a sticker, whether you voted or not, you show up with a sticker on, you can get that ice cream, because they didn't want to be charged with the DOJ. 52 U.S.C. Section 10307C of the Voting Rights Act. The issue is the VRA prohibits incentives for voter registration or participation. If I give you $1 million lottery out there, if you register to vote in a swing state, I have directly violated the Voting Rights Act. Prohibits incentivize for voter registration or participation. Right there is a direct violation of that law. So why does he get a stern letter when if I paid somebody $5 to go register or do whatever, they'd throw me in jail? Musk framing the lottery as a petition for constitutional rights creates additional legal complexity. His defense rests on First Amendment arguments, suggesting the lottery is a legitimate form of political expression and participation. However, federal election laws limit the use of financial rewards to avoid undermining electoral fairness, which puts his campaign on precarious legal grounds. So here's what could happen. They could issue a cease and desist. Tell them to just knock it off, stop it. That's what they've done. They sent out that letter. Quietly ask Musk to stop doing it. The public investigation announcement. Now we're back to that 60 days. Hey, we're looking into what Elon Musk does. Or you let him do it and you have the post-election reinforcement. If you want to learn more about the things that are going on like that, be sure to go to Ground News. I think The Hill has a great place on this too, or Legal Eagle on YouTube. We'll be right back after the bottom of the hour.
This is WRMN News.
I'm Marky B reporting. The man accused of a deadly stabbing in Elgin committed the attack because the victim was wearing the wrong color clothing, a Kane County prosecutor said at a court hearing Thursday. Assistant State's Attorney Mark Stajuhar provided details about the October 12th stabbing when he asked Kane County Judge Julia Yetter to deny pretrial release for 21-year-old Anderson Contreras. Thankfully, this time Yetter ruled that Contreras should remain in custody. He's charged with first-degree murder and aggravated battery in the death of Sunday Ogunjimi, 36 years old, of Elgin. Stajuhar said Contreras had asked Ogunjimi why he was wearing black and red clothes. Contreras later told police he belonged to a gang, and those colors were that of a rival gang. Ogunjimi was not in a gang and did not know Contreras, Stajuhar said. Yetter said, according to a police synopsis submitted to her, Contreras approached Ogunjimi and asked him for $1 and a beer. When Ogunjimi reached into the backpack for the beer, Contreras stabbed him with a kitchen knife that had a 3 to 5 inch blade. Contreras' lawyer, Assistant Public Defender Jacqueline Leader, said that since his arrest, Contreras has resumed taking prescription medication for an unspecified mental health condition. Leader said Contreras has family support and would agree to wear a GPS monitor and have electronic home monitoring if released. Stajuhar told the judge that no conditions could keep Contreras from being a danger to the public now. Referring to Contreras' arrest on September 28th, it happened after Contreras had been released from the Kane County Jail in St. Charles earlier in the day on a domestic battery case. A judge granted pretrial release that time, and as a result, on October the 12th, the murder occurred. I'm Marky B, and this is WRMN News on the Talk of the Town.
Produced in Studio 14 by the River Media Network. If your idea of therapy involves a fishing rod, a tree stand, or a campfire, then you need American Outdoors Radio. Host John Cruz speaks your language, whether it's about the best lures, tracking game, or that one buddy who always forgets to bring the beer. John's got the tips to sharpen your aim, the hacks to pack lighter, and the stories to keep you entertained. Again, that's American Outdoor Radio with John Cruz. Saturdays at 7 a.m. on WRMN 1410. Or stream it at WRMN1410.com. Get ready to outfish, outhunt, and outcamp 'em all on American Outdoor Radio with John Cruz.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I lack a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older-adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Sue with Newman's Corner Pub in Hampshire, Illinois. Are you looking for the perfect hangout spot? Swing by Newman's Corner Pub right at the corner of 72 and State Street in Hampshire. Enjoy fantastic drinks, live music, and a fun crowd that makes every visit special. Test your luck with our hot slots and our Queen of Hearts drawing every Saturday at 3 p.m. Challenge your friends to darts or pool while you're here. Newman's Corner Pub, where every day feels like a weekend. Visit us at Route 72 and State Street in Hampshire. That's Newman's Corner Pub, your new favorite spot.
Welcome back to a political talk show right here on WRMN. Don't forget you can go to WRMN.com, WRMN1410.com rather, and see all of the amazing ways that you can interact with the shows here. You'll be able to see the lineup of all the different shows that we've got going on. We are starting a new show taking the place of Democracy Now!, and it is called What's Cooking with Mike Horn. Mike Horn is a great friend of mine from the network broadcasting and syndication side of things. We're hoping to bring him on to some of our other shows and talk a little bit about what he's been doing with his network and some of his whining and dining and all of the other lifestyle type of events that he's doing. He's actually in Hawaii right now, so it's a little hard to get a hold of him because, of course, everybody's on the beach and there's no cell phone service on the beach. But it's out there. It's a great show. We're replacing Democracy Now! With it. It falls right into that same lineup with Out to Lunch with Matt McNeil, running right into that entertainment lifestyle type of programming that you have come to love here on WRMN, so that I can be the big meanie bad guy to kick off the political talk that's out there. And our goal here at A Political Talk Show is to be a show that anyone on the political spectrum can listen to. Whether you agree with us, don't agree with us, etc., you are welcome to listen to our show because we don't want to sit here and beat up you. Now, I just spent a little bit of time beating up on Merrick Garland. Sure. Yeah, that guy, public figure. Sure, beat up on him all day. Say whatever you want to about him. But there's no reason for me to degrade the American people. There's no reason to fight my fellow classmates in the in the social class hierarchy of things. So let's stick with that. Let's stick with criticizing and I guess critiquing the people that are in charge of what we're all living through right now. So I just got done beating up on Merrick Garland, but I think he deserves it. If I ever met him in person, I'd say the exact same thing to him. So speaking of people who say things, we're now going to get into the hot button issue of this week. And by all means, I encourage you, please, to call in. If I say something that was wrong, or I say something that is just offensive to you, or you're like, hey, that's not a real thing, this is the fact, and that's the stuff that's over there, feel free to call in 847-931-1410. 847-931-1410. We see Brendan already on the chat side of things on that YouTube stream I was just talking about. But this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Trump's generals. Now, General John Kelly and also General Mark Milley and their criticisms of Trump. Now, that isn't just the General Kelly and General Milley that have done this. The majority of people that have worked in the Trump cabinet either will not endorse him or will not be voting for him. There is a reason why it is not a Trump-Pence vote again. Now, I don't necessarily have to tell you why. We've all lived through the last election cycle and a half over the last 4 years of the January 6th and everything else that's out there. But it's very, very telling when the people that worked directly with you will not work with you again. Now imagine this. You are going to maybe make a purchase, but you just read that the board of directors all turned around and said the chairman is destroying the company and moving it to a completely different thing, putting razor blades in the cereal or whatever else, right? Whatever bad thing that the board of directors says that they're moving towards. You wouldn't buy that product if everybody was saying this is where it is. People quit their bosses, they don't necessarily quit their job. Now imagine that. Imagine somebody working for somebody and then saying, I will never work for that person again. You've heard that before. You as a person who has been employed knows those people that are there. We already got a phone call coming right in. I believe it's a Dutchman. Hey, sir, welcome aboard. How are you?
Boy, you're bringing up some real crazy stuff for a Friday.
It's Free Speech Friday, man. The freest of speeches.
It's a free-for-all Friday.
Yeah, it is.
Free-for-all. First off, I want to say I hope everybody has a great weekend. I know it's going to be a little chilly out there, but there's a lot of stuff going on. And please, 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 it's Halloween. Be careful with the kids out there. I know don't want to hit anybody. I don't want to have any issues. To all the little munchkins, I'm looking forward to seeing what Halloween brings this year because there's some really cool looking costumes out there. So anyway, I had to say that. It's my 10 cents.
Oh, it's all the good stuff, man. I can't wait for trick-or-treating coming up on Thursday. It's to the point where I'm actually playing hooky from school, buddy. Instead of going over there and teaching my students, I'm taking my my little munchkins out into the world to go hunt down that candy.
Yeah, where you?
I'm on the west side of Elgin now, buddy.
Oh, you're right there. You're not too far away then.
Not too far. Not too far. Big timber.
Well, I always invite people to come over to my shop. If you're up there on YouTube and all you have to do is
what's the address?
Say hi and let me know. I love teaching people. I don't charge anything. I love teaching people, especially youngins, how to turn or even do any kind of woodworking. I love it, but it's all about creativity, man.
Mm-hmm.
Open mind, creativity, like you guys do on this show. That's why I love it. You got to keep an open mind.
The Dutchman's Wood Shack is the place to go on YouTube out there. Or where's your shop located?
I'm in Geneva, actually, but
okay, it's not too far.
I'd say the northwest corner of. I'm right on the border of St. Charles. Actually, I'm down the street from the fairgrounds.
Okay,
Kane County Fairgrounds.
That ain't too bad. Hey, what do you want to talk about today? You said I was fired up about stuff. But what did I trigger you? What did I trigger you?
No,
with?
you're seeing it right. People tend to I'm trying to teach my friends that are Trump supporters why he didn't get elected the last time. And I think I said this once, but I'll say it again. The last year he was working there, and you had John Bolton and some other people in there, they were talking about something. I forget what it was, but he was out of the meeting 5 minutes, and he starts talking to reporters, and then he starts throwing those people under the bus, literally. And you don't do that. Even if you're an employer, you do not do that. You do not take somebody that needs to be disciplined or whatever
to the side, right?
Under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I can't understand the fixation of Trump because of that. I mean, I'm not going to support him. I'll tell you that right now. But then I'm not going to support Camilla.
Exactly.
I'll say this: if Camilla comes and wins, she probably will. Here's the situation. People have to start looking at it a different light. And it's not about the president of the United States. It's about the Senate and the Congress of the United States. They're the one that makes the bills.
Yep.
And they're the ones that pass the thing. I mean, the president vetoes or not vetoes, right? Okay, so the big deal for me is it's always been the Senate and the Congress. If you look the way things are going now, nobody likes Republicans. I seriously think that that's going to be a landslide victory in the Democrat seat where there's going to be Republicans won't have their say-so anymore. It'll be mostly Democrats because the Republicans are out to lunch. They didn't go out and there isn't nobody in this state running for Republican. If there is, I didn't see the ads. I didn't get the flyers.
Well, they are.
Be one thing.
So they're running, but they're not saying that they're Republicans. So this is what I've been running into a lot of these a lot of these newcomers and a lot of these people that have never run before or held office before at all, what I'm running into when I talk with them and talk with those candidates is they're saying, look, I am an independent thinker, but I have conservative values. I'm not MAGA, but the only vehicle that I have to actually get in the election is to do it through the Republican side. And so they don't necessarily all agree with each other in that same side of whether they're MAGA or rhinos or whatever other acronym that you want to use. I mean, even the Tea Partyists, right? What they're trying to say with a lot of these people is you can find a bunch of these people that are out there that don't even put the word Republican on their website because of the fractured type of side that everybody's at right now.
You know, I want to say this. Now, I did this test, and I think I told you this. There was 100 people in a room, and you gave them questions to answer that were politically motivated questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But we didn't ask anybody if they were Republican or Democrats. Okay, so at the end of the day, we add up everything, we go through it, and pretty much most people are the same, had the same answers, whether you're Democrat or Republican. When you asked them who's Democrat or who's Republican, you know, it was amazing how many people answered the same question, and they were agreeable.
No,
There's
Dutchman,
only
most of the
points in
people
between,
in the
and
United
that's
States,
us, though.
most of the people in the United States are fiscally conservative. They don't want their money just going out there to just anywhere. They want to make sure that we have it handled. But they are socially liberal, where they want to just be, look, you do you, I'll do me, and we'll stop interfering with each other's lives. That concept there is the majority of America. And it's the two-party system that makes us choose. That, do you want to be fiscally conservative or do you want to be socially liberal? That's really what they make us choose.
I've said this before. I wish there was no labels on it, and you could just hire, you know, who you think is qualified for the job, because that's what makes it difficult as an American. People in other countries look at us like we're idiots. I mean, we are idiots in a way, because look at who we hire on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's our fault. And the thing is, if people complain after the next election and somebody doesn't get what they want and they all snibble about it, well, it's only our fault. We're the ones to blame. Quit sniveling.
Well, it's like what George Carlin said. George Carlin said the only reason that you shouldn't vote is so that you can tell everybody else, look at the jerk that you guys elected. Like that's how he kind of puts it. It's like I don't vote because I want to be able to say that I want to blame everybody else for putting the person in charge.
Well, I'm just saying this.
Yeah.
Remember, people, next week or the next couple of weeks, you got a choice. You have a choice, but be smart about the choice. And I'm not, I'm just saying, look at the candidates below the president. Just look at the candidates below the president. Forget about the presidency, because I actually think that's already given. It's the Senate and the Congress.
I'll tell you, Dutchman,
to work with each other.
I'm contemplating not voting for the presidency and just voting locally, because I'm on the same boat that many people are, even with Joe Biden, was we were going to hold our nose and vote for Joe. I'm going to eat my green beans and have my Biden now, so that this weekend I can have cake and ice cream on the weekend. But if I've got to eat my veggies and save democracy, then I'll hold my nose and go for it. But I am not a rah-rah, this lady's my candidate, even though everybody wants when you're voting to have this immense amount of passion towards your candidate. It's like, look, man, I'm voting for a person that's probably only going to affect my life in what TV I watch. Like that's what I hope is the only effect of having that president.
I'll say this, and I'll get off and wish everybody. But here's the one thing I want people to realize is if you give a candidate $10, they'll shake your hand. Maybe if you're on a parade, kiss your baby. They'll say hi, thank you very much. If you're a guy that gives them $1 million or $10,000, who do you think is going to honor the most?
Exactly.
So you remember that. We don't run the country. The rich and famous run the country.
Exactly. And now imagine if your donor
and greed.
And now imagine if your donor was going to give out your constituents $1 million a day.
There you go.
Right?
I mean, that's the sad fact. Yeah, when this country was started, it was not based on the way things are running today.
No.
And people got to understand that. As much as people hate, we're messing with the Constitution, but in some of the rules and regulations they have in the Constitution doesn't add up anymore. And
and they don't enforce it. And that's my whole point for the last half hour is they won't even enforce the Constitution. Do you know the 14th Amendment is flippantly against one of the candidates? If you take an oath of office and you violate that oath, the 14th Amendment keeps you from running again. And the DOJ would not enforce it. And that right there is the reason that we're in this mess, man.
Yeah, that's because they don't want to be the bad guy.
How much better would it be right now? How much better would it be right now if it was DeSantis versus Harris? How much better would you feel right now?
I don't like DeSantis either, but I'd rather vote for DeSantis versus Trump was a crazy guy. All right, people know this, and you said it at the beginning when your speech, at the beginning of the half hour, that he was people that were in his cabinet don't want to have anything to. People know what he's like, and the only thing I can come up with is, and this is true, is the trade tariffs and what he did to try and kind of kibosh, maybe try to get more jobs back here. But people have to understand, we live in a nation that's probably the most environmentally friendly nation in the world. And with the EPA regulations and the things we do with all this stuff, I know there's people out there say we're not doing enough, and that's true. But at the same token, we're better off than a lot of other countries. And the reason why corporations, the people that make the tools, the Walmarts and the Kmarts and the Targets go to China is because now they're feeding people $1.25, $1.50 an hour labor, slave labor, and they don't have to worry about EPA regulations. That's the reason why all these jobs left town and went to another country.
Yep.
And that's exactly it. And when you're making cars at $100 an hour or whatever it is, for working, putting a car together versus the guys that are over at Nissan and Datsun in another country making half of that, what do you think is going to happen? If I'm a businessman, that's where I'm going. That's not stupidity; it's smart thinking. But
it's unfettered capitalism, is what it is. Yeah, Dutch, anyway, I really appreciate you calling in, brother. You have a fantastic weekend.
You too, and thanks again. And God bless everybody. God bless America.
God bless America.
It'll work out. No matter who's in office, it'll work out. It always does.
It does, and we can keep our republic as long as we can keep it. So
that's right.
Let's keep moving.
Talk to you later.
Have a great weekend, buddy. Dutchman, check out the Dutchman's Wood Shack over in Geneva, but he's got a great YouTube channel that's out there. He doesn't do the political stuff on his YouTube channel. It's all about woodworking. It's all about wood spinning and all of those different projects that you can do with wood. Now, I've only got a couple minutes left, and that's why I kind of hurried. Here's your hat. Why the rush for him? But I really wanted to hit on what has been happening with John Kelly and with Milley itself. General John Kelly, former Marine Corps general and Donald Trump's chief of staff, has re-entered the public spotlight with sharp criticisms of the former president. Kelly's recent statements confirm longstanding reports that Trump disparaged military service members, including calling soldiers killed in action losers and suckers. Kelly told CNN that Trump actively avoided being photographed with wounded veterans, allegedly stating, "It doesn't look good for me." These allegations first surfaced in 2020 through a report by The Atlantic, which Trump denied at the time, but Kelly's confirmation as a high-ranking insider lends new insight to these claims. Kelly further criticized Trump's disdain for Democratic norms and warned that the former president had, quote, "contempt for our democratic institutions, our Constitution, and the rule of law," unquote. This concern is not new. Kelly has previously highlighted Trump's admiration for authoritarian leaders and raised questions about his comment to upholding democratic principles. His recent comments underscore the broader tension between Trump and senior military figures during and after his presidency. So I wrote a whole bunch more of it, but I love talking with the Dutchman, and I love when he's on with us. I wanted to give him his time. General Milley said almost the exact same thing, and I don't need to get into the Hitler quotes and all of the other things because again, it's all just over the top type of things that are here. But the biggest issue that we're running into is listen to your candidate. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying vote one way, vote the other way. Look, you like the authoritarian, you like the, as Tucker Carlson calls it, daddy coming home. Look, if that's the way that you want to go that way. But know who you are voting for. That's all I ask. I ask you to find any 30 minutes, pick any 30 minutes out there in the world and listen to your candidate. If you cannot listen to your candidate talk for 30 minutes without cringing or without going, what the heck is this person talking about? And I'm said the same thing, Harris and Trump, both of them. Then are they really your candidate, or are you just voting your color? Are you voting the color of your hat, or are you voting with what is actually in your heart? That's all I'm asking, is listen to your candidate talk. Pick any 30 minutes that you want and listen to your candidate talk. Thanks for listening to Free Speech Friday right here on WRMN. Apolitical Talk Show is live from 4 to 6 Monday through Friday with Monetary Mondays, Candidate Tuesdays, Word Wednesdays, Legislation Thursdays, and of course our favorite Free Speech Fridays. When we come back later on this week, we will have more candidates that are coming through. And then on Election Day, Apolitical Talk Show is taking the reins, and we are going to make sure that you are informed. Give us a call, 847-931-1410 on Election Day, and we will give you the bio of your candidate or information about the race, or even what these advisory questions are all about. You've been listening to Apolitical Talk Show right here on WRMN.
Bender Dental Care, located at 217 North McLean Boulevard in Elgin. Bender Dental wants everyone to be informed, appreciated, and cared for at all times. To prove it, they now offer